So fam, I have a confession to make. I have a love-hate relationship. Aka Linaebu. On this channel I do a lot of faith-based content and Christian lifestyle, and from time to time you may even see my wonderful lovely family. This year we are doing something new and we are becoming better versions of ourselves in 2024. So if that is something that you like, I would love for you to join our family. I usually post on Fridays. So fam, I have a confession to make. I have a love-hate relationship with my glasses. I love the fact that I can see, don't get me wrong, but I hate the fact of wearing glasses. I have been wearing glasses since I was like 5 years old. I didn't get my pair of contacts until I turned 18. I know, crazy. So usually when you see me, I usually have on my contacts. But today, we're doing something different. I'm going to give you 3 ways from Isaiah 43, 18 through 19 of how our perspectives can help us become better versions of ourselves. So let me give these a quick clean, because just like having 20/20 vision, it's not about what we see, but how we see it. Also, just this little disclaimer, just like we need clarity in our vision of where we're going, I do have my notes here, but that's only to keep me on track so we know where we're going. So if you follow me to Isaiah 43, 18 through 19, and it reads, "Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." You know, I really love that verse because the ESB version says that I am making a way in the wilderness and streams and rivers in the desert. And that really just spoke volumes to me. And it's so crazy because this actual verse was in the Bible app like a few weeks ago. And by the way, if you do not have the Bible app, go ahead and download it. It's a free tool in your app store, but it's so amazing because it gives you a verse of the day, it gives you devotionals, reading plans, Bible studies, and so much more. But I love this verse because Isaiah is talking, and Isaiah is speaking to the Israelites, just reminding them of God's promises and reminding them of what God has for them. So the very first thing that you can take from this verse is hindsight and forward movement. It said to forget the former things and don't dwell on the past. So that just reminds me of, like, you heard the saying, hindsight is 20/20. So if hindsight is 20/20, that's basically saying that you could look at a past situation and you can recognize now how you could see it in a different light. You can see it with more clarity. So for instance, I am currently reading this book by Daniel Goleman, I believe, called Emotional Intelligence, which is such an amazing book. But I look at this passage and I think of hindsight, of how I could have reacted to certain situations differently had I been aware of my emotions. So for instance, I usually, still working on it, but I usually had a problem with constructive criticism. Like, I would get defensive. I would just, I don't know, I would think that you're attacking me and not giving me the constructive criticism. But after reading this book, I could look back at past situations and recognize how my emotions played a part in how I was receiving the constructive criticism. So now going forward, when I get constructive criticism, I can recognize how my emotions are playing a part in it, and I can receive what they're saying a little bit better. So another way that I can talk about hindsight and not dwelling on the past, that is. A lot of you don't know, but I recently lost my youth pastor. Who is such an amazing woman, and she's the one that actually led me to Christ. But my husband gave me some great advice as I was grieving the situation really hard at that moment, and I'm still grieving, but he gave me some great advice, and he said, you can remember how she is, remember what she did in your life, but don't stay in that place of depression. Don't stay in that place of feeling defeated. She wouldn't want you to live like that. And you know what? That kind of gave me a little bit of motivation to continue moving forward. So that reminds me of just like Isaiah was telling the Israelites, don't dwell on the past. Don't dwell on the past. Look at it for forward vision. So you can, any situation that you're going through, any situation that you went through, don't stay stuck in the past of, woe is me, look at me. Don't stay in that place. Recognize that God is going to do a new thing. So that brings me to step number 2 in moving forward of how to change your perspective in 2020, and that is to guard your mind. So all that God is doing in our lives, and to anticipate all the beautiful things that's coming forward, you can't stay in that place of defeat. You have to move forward. So like, in order to move forward though, here's the catch. You have to guard your mind. I think of the passage in Proverbs 4, verse 23. And it says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. You know, the best illustration that I can think of for guarding your mind is to think of your mind like a garden, right? So with this garden, you could plant all the things that it needs to grow. So whatever you're watching, whatever you're listening to, whatever you're feeding your garden of your mind, that is what it grows. So I love reality TV. And I love some of the reality shows that you would probably be like, why are you watching that? I know my husband asks me sometimes, why are you watching this? But I don't know why. I just like it. But that's why they make money, because they want people to watch it. But in the midst of watching those shows and watching those videos or staying on TikTok or whatever, how about we sprinkle in some positivity? Like sprinkle in some books, sprinkle in reading the Bible, sprinkle in just ways to help you encourage yourself. I would think of it like these positive encouragements could very well be like the sunlight and the rain to the garden of your mind. So when times you are feeling at your lowest, or times when you can't see which way you're going, or times when things look fuzzy because your vision is not clear, you can remind yourself that, you know what, God is doing a new thing. So that brings me to step number 3 and how our perspectives can change with 2020 vision. And that is to remember that God is doing a new thing and He has a better viewpoint than you do. So the last part of that scripture in Isaiah, it says, now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness, rivers in the desert. And I'm just reminded of all the times that God has came through. And I know God has came through for you too. And y'all could probably flood the comments with all that God has came through with. So when life may be cloudy, have 2020 vision and like, look, God has a better viewpoint than I do. God has a better vantage point than I do. God's ways are perfect. God will not fail you. God has came through before. He's gonna do it again. Like, there's been so many times, like literally the ways in the wilderness, streams in the desert, it's like so many times that I could look over my life that literally, even just yesterday, this week, God has came through when I didn't see how this was gonna work out. Like, I could have been down to my last dollar and literally person walk up, here, I just wanted to bless you. That's God, y'all. That's God. Like I said, I know that if we're gonna become better versions of ourselves, it requires 2020 vision. It requires looking back, but not staying in that place of defeat, not resting in a place of despair, but looking forward. It also requires guarding your mind, feeding it with positivity. I know last week I talked about having positive influences in your life. If you haven't watched that video, I'll link it for you. But we have to guard our minds, feed it some positivity. Read your word, y'all. Read the Bible. Get some encouragement in your spirit. Watch an interesting podcast. Listen to some music. Do what you have to do to guard your mind. Don't let everything that you visually see or that comes into your ear gate be something negative to feed your spirit. And then the last thing, we have to remember that God is doing a new thing. He's made a way in the wilderness, and He will continue to make a way for you. So fam, I love you. I pray that this encourages you. If it does, please do me a favor, share it with a friend or two, like, comment. Let's develop a community that just shows faithfulness, and just showing reliance on God. Fam, I love you. I will see you next week in the next video. Until then, stay blessed.